is called Lights, Camera, Action. And how it came about, I've been delivering online for about 10 years because of Northern Canada. As you know, um, we can't always provide and drive up there and do training. So we began when the technology was available to deliver training up there. And the first platforms for online training or video conferences, if you have been doing this for a while, you know they weren't that great and would sort of get in your other technology. And there was the bandwidth wasn't good. There was a whole host of difficult things arising with the technology itself. Well, thanks to COVID, and the technology certainly had been evolving over the last 10 years, and the technology now is very, very good. But we're not that great at being on this virtual platform. But because of the COVID virus and the pandemic, we've been thrown into this environment and encouraged to make the best of it, and hopefully making the best of it, because what people need now is access to others through connection. And you need to be able to operate your business, connect with your employees, connect with your staff members as well. And this is what we have to keep us all safe and in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my slide deck. For some reason, no, it's not. Are you seeing my slides?
No, we're seeing what you're seeing on Zoom and whatnot.
Huh. How about now?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Whoop. There we go. All right. So we're going to start, of course, with the lights, but let me just introduce lights, camera, action. So those are the three components in the next 60 minutes that we have together. We're going to talk about Zoom and video conferencing, but in particular Zoom, because we're using this platform and it seems to be what a lot of people are using. But many of the attributes will cross over if you're using some other kind of platform. The only specific mechanical or technology very specific areas will be unique to Zoom, but other platforms have similar. And then we're going to look at the camera and action, which is about people in your session, or you as an audience member and you as a presenter as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So the objective really is to help you be more professional in whatever you're delivering, connect with your audience in a more profound way, because that's one of the challenges with the virtual environment, is that we're not in the physical room or on-premise room with somebody, so they don't have access to all our body language, and nor do we have access to making eye contact with them because of where the lens is and how we need to connect, and also how we can have greater impact in this virtual environment. So we're going to start with the lighting. One of the tendencies that we've had to do in our offices and our kitchens or wherever we're participating in a Zoom meeting is generally people like to have the lights behind them shining down onto their desk. But in the virtual environment, that's the worst place, or it just doesn't showcase you to your best advantage. And it's counterintuitive for many, many people. But where you need to have the light is on the other side of where your camera lens is, looking down on your face, or to have the natural light in that direction. This summer, I had the opportunity, I was the contest chair for the World Championship of Public Speaking, and I worked with a production crew, of course, and they had the natural light in my room, and I had to move a half an inch, half an inch, half an inch as the sun was progressing across the summer sky, just to maintain that lighting at the optimum to light up your face, because we don't have our total body showing anymore. So we need to emphasize things that are going on our face to help enhance the message. And you can buy things called ring lights now. You can get 18-inch, 19-inch, 27-inch. There's a whole host of ring lights that you can purchase to put on the other side of your camera, shining down on your face. And sometimes it's a matter of trial and error. You can get on a Zoom room with somebody and have somebody else move your camera, and they can share what is showing up to your best advantage. And often ring lights have two choices. There's a warm light and there's a cool light. And if the warm light will make you look a little bit more yellow, and the cool light will make you look a little pink. And so you can adjust to your best advantage. And I'm sure everyone already has discovered in the advanced settings that you can do the adjustment to enhance the way you look, but you also need lighting to maximize, particularly if you're delivering a session. Not as significant if you're a participant, but definitely if you are a presenter. Now I'm going to stop for a minute and ask, do we have any questions at this point? Or what questions do you have? No questions? All right. And by the way, if you're not familiar with it yet, if you are muted and you want to just share something, just hit the space bar and that will do a quick unmute for you, and you'll be able to share, and then take your finger off the space bar and it will remain muted. So wherever the natural lighting is, if you don't supplement with additional lighting from a ring light, there will be a shadow on one side of your face. And so if you have natural lighting coming in from the right, then you could put the ring light coming in on the other side to light up your other side of your face. So you want to try and make sure that everyone can see your entire face, the gestures you make, and everything that to enhance your message, to get the most across from what you are attempting to share and deliver with your audience. And what we recommend, or actually what Zoom recommends, is that you are an arm length away from your screen and from your camera lens. So an arm length away. And generally that will put you into a frame that may have you up to your elbows. I will show you in a minute about the head space above, but I noticed when you all entered the room, you were fairly good at that. Really, really well done. But consider an arm's length away. Now, there's a number of reasons for that. First of all, you can maximize how you look, but also that you're not as far away from the microphone. And if any of you have attempted to deliver further back in your room where you might be trying to do a full body or at least to the legs, then you'll know that the microphone doesn't always carry that well, and you need to have a lavalier mic or some other kind of mic that will pick that sound up. But recommended for any kind of meeting, simple training like we have here, or students, an arm's length away. Now the camera, how far do we get from the camera, and what's the position that we want to have in the camera? So we want to make sure that our eye level is right at the green dot level. And so what you may have to do is lift up your laptop, lift up your desktop, whatever it is, to be so that green dot is at eye level. Sometimes the camera lens is looking up and we get a ceiling, a bit of the ceiling and a bit of the wall, and that sometimes can make a little bit of distortion there. Or typically, if you've been delivering presentations for a number of years, you might have been delivering it from the stage where you look down on the audience. And because the audience has full view of the stage and the room, that seems to be okay. They want to see you in that frame. But in the virtual environment, that's not the frame that audience people enjoy, because they're in their own homes, their own kitchens, their own living rooms, and they don't like someone looking down on them. So it's that things that happen on the unconscious level that we need to be highly aware of to maximize our message always. And so you want to be at the same level. Now, if you choose to deliver standing up, and there's some people that really feel they can get more energy when they stand up, so be it. But then if you have a portion that you're sitting down, you need to have a mechanism that works quite well with lifting your camera up and lifting your, the device that you're using. And but keep it at eye level. When I first began delivering virtual training, I really struggled with wanting to look at the audience, and I had to create a little happy face around my green dot. And then I ended up taking some paint sticks and some magazines, cutting out pictures of people and attaching them to the back of my laptop. So I remembered to focus there at the lens and not at the participants, or checking out my own pain to make sure that whatever, the hair wasn't in my eyes or whatever I was looking at, I don't know, but it's a different mode. We need to build a relationship with that green dot. And if you're used to standing in front of people, that's not an easy transition to make. And so framing it, how do you frame yourselves? Well, the recommendation is that you have several inches above your head, but that you want to take up about 80% of the frame. You want a little bit of space above your head in case you should stretch sometime, that the top of your head doesn't pop off outside of the frame. But you want to take up a significant amount of the frame to maximize your message or whatever you're sharing. So don't be a little head at the bottom, or off to the side in any way. You want to center yourself and make sure that you have enough room above your head so when you stretch, you don't pop out of the screen. And you as participants have the opportunity to, there's the presenter view, or we all do as presenters, we have the presenter view or the gallery view. And you'll know in the top right-hand corner, you have the option to choose whether you want speaker view or you want gallery view. And now Zoom keeps adding all kinds of elements, all kinds of high features. Now we have the opportunity to spot anyone that's speaking. And so if you are the host, you're able to spotlight someone that's speaking. So that means that attendees don't have to pin that person or anything. They will automatically take up the presenter view, and an audience member actually has to resume back to gallery view, which is all the attendees there in order to view. So the attendees are in control of that, but the host has the option to spotlight people, so you take up a big portion of the screen. Now, if you were an audience member and you want to see more of the gallery, you will notice that beside the presentation, beside where my PowerPoint is the gallery panes off here to the side. And in here, there's two lines. If you take those lines and pull them to the left, it will enlarge the gallery view, or if you have me on presenter view, it will enlarge that and it will diminish the slides. And you can pull it back so the slides are full, but you as an audience member are in control of that. Now, Zoom has additionally added another feature where you can actually have your slide deck as your virtual background. Now, I've delivered that way many a time, but for some reason today it chose not to work. I'm not sure. I had a Apple update within the last couple of days. So whether now Zoom needs to update to the Apple update, but the virtual, your slide deck as your virtual background isn't working, but you do have the capability to do that. And the where you do that when you are the host is you go to advanced, and you want to make sure that you tick the audio if you have any video in there. So the video will, the sound in your PowerPoint presentation will come through as well. And sometimes if you've used that feature in PowerPoint, that they will translate into other languages as well. And you can do that simultaneously.
Where is
So,
advanced?
where's advanced? So when you go into share screen, share, then you'll see there's basic on the top. There's that little white box that comes up for you. You may not be able to see it now, of course, because you don't have the ability to share in here. But if you go to share your screen, and then you'll have the panels and it says basic and advanced. And so you need to hit the advanced. Where you access the file is not quite the same way that you do in basics. So you have to wait. It'll say beta on there in the advanced portion. It will say beta. You hit beta and then you need to wait a moment or two until it goes to your directory. And then you can choose the file from the directory. And again, you have to wait a moment until the slide deck pulls up as your virtual background. And then you appear as an image on the bottom, as if you were an instructor with a giant whiteboard behind you. So your background will disappear. The background will be your slide deck. It's unfortunate that I couldn't demonstrate that for you today here. So let's talk about etiquette of virtual meetings. You know, originally when we all moved to doing meetings online, the bandwidth was not the greatest, or the technology was not the greatest. So many of us just used our slide presentations and we weren't visual. We would put ourselves on video off and we would just be present in the room. And that happens when you're in a webinar. Not everyone shows up in a webinar, and it's a one way to manage a meeting, particularly or a training, particularly if you have hundreds of people and you need to get through a lot of material and there's a lot of people perhaps wanting to engage or do various things. So it's a way that you can get through your material in a short period of time and manage everything in a particular webinar. But meetings are a little more engaging and provide that opportunity for people in your session to show up. And so the guidance or the etiquette now in meetings as well, if it's a board meeting, it's a company meeting, it's a staff meeting, you're meeting with your clients, whatever it is considered rude if you have your video off. The only time to turn your video off is if you have a great deal of movement. So let's say I decide that I need a cup of tea and I'm going to go get a cup of tea. Rather than leave my pane black or the pane with no person in it, then I would turn video off while I run and do whatever it is that I want to do. But as soon as I'm back, I turn the video on. And of course, you as presenters, or many of the people that introduce themselves at the beginning of this session, you know that it feels a lot more comfortable, and you know those in your session are fully present when they have their cameras on, because we can see what they're doing. We can see if they're texting, we can see if they're reading, whatever. And facial gestures, facial expression or hand gestures, as I mentioned earlier, are really important in this virtual environment. You need to really own your content viscerally so that it comes across to those people that are in your audience. So you can have that kind of deep impact that you did in front of the room or in the meeting room. And so we need to use the tools that we have available, and that's our face. The challenge is also, when we were operating on stage, we would say, make your gestures big, make your gestures big, particularly in a big audience. Well, we don't have that liberty here. And in fact, sometimes gestures can be a challenge because of your bandwidth, because of the other person's bandwidth, the way they are receiving the video. And so I encourage you to use hand gestures, not as prevalent and not as frequently as you did when you're on stage, because sometimes hand movements, it's too fast, depending again on the speed of your download or your upload with your internet connection, the speed of your device, and the speed of the other person's internet, and the speed of their device all affect the image that they are receiving on the other end. And so be cautious, use them wisely, use them closer to your body. And what TV cameramen have shared, what they do most effectively, they're looking for elbows up. Any image, or when they're capturing people for a news broadcast or a quick interview off the streets or whatever, most of the time it's from the elbow up. Sometimes it depends, it's full body, but generally that's what they're looking for. And so that's the space that you have in order to gesture. And if you have a gallery on the right-hand side, of course, you would want to gesture with the other side. So you're not going into the gallery and being cut off there. So people are getting to see everything that you are doing with your hands. I want to talk to you about backgrounds. Many of you, if you noticed that I had a fall background, I have many backgrounds. And when we first went on to virtual training in a significant way back in February and March, that was the only means of doing training once the pandemic had hit. I encouraged CEOs and those people I was working with to not use a virtual background, because we all look like cyborgs. There were so many parts of us that were missing. And I thought it was really great opportunity for leaders to invite others into their home, into their office, into their living room, into their kitchen, wherever they were conducting their meeting or their interview or their session. It gave this friendly feel in a time of fear, great uncertainty among those that they were leading. However, in the last 3, 4, 5 months, certainly virtual backgrounds have changed immensely. And now we can actually use them to give the feel and the flavor of your message, to give impact. If you're wanting to look more intellectual, you could use book background, or more innovative, you could use a spacey kind of age, or more organized, you can use those backgrounds to give a feel to your message. And you can even change along the way. If you have 3 key points in your message, you can change your background. It's very easy to change backgrounds. And there are a lot of free, high quality backgrounds available. If you're not familiar with the site Unsplash, I'd like to share it with you. So it's Unsplash, UNSPLASH.com. And a lot of photographers around the world have simply shared their best pictures, their best compositions on this website. And all they ask you to do is thank that individual. Send an email, send a Twitter, whatever it is, just thank the individual for providing that free image for you, and very, very high quality images. Does anyone else here today have a great free virtual background vendor? Nobody? Okay. And what you want to do is have some kind of contrast with your virtual background, or your authentic background. Whatever your background is, you want to contrast and show up somewhat different to make your face pop. Now, when we had people on the stage, or we were giving guidance, coaching people on the stage, we often encourage them to wear solid colors. And the same is true for a virtual background. Don't be wearing a lot of busy patterns. It doesn't strengthen your image or how you're perceived in this virtual background. Attempt to wear solid colors and attempt to have a contrast with what your background is so that you pop out. And as you can see here, there have a brick background, which of course is signifies strength and some kind of strength there. And so be wise about the background to help you enhance your message. Any questions about backgrounds? Okay.
Hi, Margaret.
Yes.
Oh, I have a question with backgrounds. With me, my issue is like when things appear like on my on the white of my beard, and like oh, it's hard to explain, but like this background that I have here, everything like it's a corrugated. I'm just here in my son's room, so but I know with whites, sometimes when I put a background, it appears on my face and not behind me.
When was the last time you tried that?
Probably like a week or 2 ago.
Oh, okay. Because, originally February, March, April, everyone was encouraging everyone to have a green screen, purchase a green screen, and then you won't have that cyborg thing going on.
Yeah.
And then, the technology has improved. I mean, it's still not perfect. There's still some little edges. And what happens is if your background is very similar to your coloring or what you're wearing, that's when the technology that distinguishes the two and gives you that virtual background, it can't always decipher the difference. So if you want to help enhance that, attempt to have a background behind you that's a different color than you are, and then go ahead and try a virtual background. But it could also be your device. So there are many people that, March, April, May, they were trying virtual backgrounds. If you have an older computer, virtual backgrounds may not may not work effectively for you, in which case, find a good spot in your house to deliver your training or share your message or whatever it is. Try not to have a very cluttered background. Attempt to make it simple so that it becomes about you and your message. Or we refer to something called framing it. And of course, we have a frame in this virtual environment, which is perfect because there's some psychology tests or some psychological things that do happen. And we encourage people in the boardroom, if you're trying to have impact or you have a strong point that you want to make, we call it framing it. So stand up, stand in the doorway, stand in the window frame, whatever it is, to frame whatever it is you're saying. And so those are some ways to be more effective. Sorry, I got a little off course with your virtual background, but find a good spot in your house and use that, or alternatively, of course, upgrade your technology. I'll have a look at it when I'm done the slide deck to see if I can make some very specific recommendations for you.
Margaret, we do have another question here from Jacqueline. She says, anything you recommend when having to take a drink of water during a presentation? Tips or tricks?
Take the drink. Yes, please go ahead and take your drink. This environment is a lot more casual. And even if you were on stage, if you needed to cough, or many speakers have a glass of water up front with them, and take a sip during a session, or in a political debate, there's always water there. People are comfortable with that. People know and understand and are totally comfortable. Now, what I might suggest as well, though, if you're doing a lot of virtual training, and we all are now, or if you're not doing the training, you're sitting in all kinds of meeting, we're using our voice a lot more than we had to before. And so you need to be able to protect your voice. And so avoid things like dairy, those kind of challenging things. So you might want to have tea with some honey there with you, or some warm water to help lubricate your voice. And that works well. Often when people are extremely nervous, their mouth gets really dry. And sometimes when I'm coaching people for contests or anything like that, they don't have access to water. They don't. And so what we encourage them to do is just, I know it may sound inappropriate, but chew on the inside of your mouth, and that will begin to lubricate your mouth. But we aren't in any kind of contest or anything, and your audience are totally comfortable with you having a sip of water. So go ahead and, as I said, do take care of your voice, because it's a long day if you're a teacher and you're delivering 4 to 6 hours a day, or you're a corporate trainer and you're delivering a multi-day training session. You really need to protect your vocal cords and make sure they're well lubricated throughout. Let's chat about microphones for next up. And some people have great sound with their computers, they're great quality sound, and their speakers are good, and others it's not. And you may have to, one way to avoid not having to buy a new device, a new laptop, a new desktop, is you can add external devices. So you can add an external camera if your camera is too pixelated or not picking you up well, or whatever the case may be, not clear picture, whatever, you can add that external camera. But you can also add an external microphone. They're not that expensive. Well, there's such a huge range. There's a range, from $30 to $40 to hundreds of dollars. But be cautious, go to an expert to get that kind of advice, and do get the feedback from it. I bought a device a couple months ago, and I have 3 or 4. I have a lavalier for on stage, and I have I have about 4 different kinds of microphones, and I felt I needed to have one for the virtual trainings. I'd bought a new larger desktop, bought a microphone, and I had a panel of people, and I tested the device microphone with this new, very expensive $200, and people could not tell the difference. So in spite of the advertising will say studio quality sound, the factors that really affect that, of course, are your device, but the other person's device as well. It's not going to make you sound better if their equipment is only of a certain level. So be wise, be smart, and test out that kind of equipment. If you are doing, your preferences to do some kind of actions, standing up or demonstrating, maybe you have to demonstrate whatever it is, a safety feature or whatever, then you will have to get a portable microphone that will record the sound or capture the sound when you're not that close. So one of the things I do want to mention that the microphones have a sweet spot. Now these are all geared and they're just plug and play. You just plug it into, it's a USB, you just plug it into your device, easy peasy to operate, not as difficult as when we're actually on the stage and we have those kind of handheld devices. And, you know, many people, the way they hold the device makes a difference with the sound quality. And so you want to make sure when you're in an in-person or on-premise is that you're holding the microphone so it's like an ice cream cone that you're going to lick, not straight up and down, because the sound is coming from straight above it and you're only capturing the side. And so there's always a sweet spot. And on those handheld devices, they are, you know, geared so it would be on an angle so people can see your face and that the sound is going down into the microphone. So be cautious about the microphones you're buying, but if you have an older computer or you're not comfortable with the quality of it, you don't have to buy an entire new desktop or laptop or whatever. You can get by with adding an external microphone that you just attach in. And of course, the bandwidth affects everything. So your speed, whatever if it's TELUS or whoever you're operating with, you may find that there's a challenge within your house. You know, years ago, we thought this is all we would ever need with Wi-Fi, and then of course we needed to have additional routers, whether you're plugged in or not. Now there's extenders everywhere. There's all kinds of things because so many people are online and that using the technology. And so the bandwidth is really important. I spoke earlier about sharing screens. And so it's at the bottom here, and then you would go into that screen where you actually choose whether it's basic or advanced. So I wanted to share with you, anyone that's on the call today, I'm happy to give an individual 15-minute complimentary session to you to review what your virtual background is, test out your microphone, test out your camera, your eye contact, your voice quality, whatever it is. I'm happy to do that for you. And thank you so much for being here today. But you can book that 15-minute complimentary time with www.margaretpage.com. And there's a schedule there that connects with my calendar, and it'll let you know the times that I'm available to give you that 15-minute session. Now, I'd like to open it up for those on the call today to ask additional questions, or there is something that I didn't cover that you need to have information on. Oh yes, that's right. We had someone wanted to know about breakout rooms. Breakout rooms are fabulous for engagement, and so are the polls in Zoom. So the way you set up the breakout rooms, you need to do it as the host before you set up the meeting. you go ahead and in your advanced settings, you signal that you would like to create breakout rooms. And once you've set it up once, that's all you need to do. After that, then you can, each meeting that you're in, you can count up the numbers and say, oh, today we need a triad for this exercise, or we need dyads, or we're going to put 8 people to a room, whatever it is. And it will, you hit on the breakout rooms on the bottom, there's a menu for all hosts, and there'll be the breakout room on the bottom, and you just signal how many people you want in a breakout room or how many breakout rooms you want. And you can even signify specific people in specific rooms. And so it's easy peasy. A screen will pop up to that individual. You're in breakout 1, you're in breakout 2, you're in breakout 3. Of course, you need to let them know how many minutes there. You have 15 minutes to complete this exercise, or the strategic planning. We have 4 components of the strategic plan. We're sending various people out into various rooms. You have a half an hour, 45 minutes to work on the session, whatever it is, and then you'll come back and report to the main group. We have that tech easy available. So again, it's in the original settings, not in the meeting itself. You need to set that up in your Zoom settings, and there'll be advanced settings, and select that you want breakout rooms. It is not an additional cost, but it's not available on the free, or at least it didn't used to be available on the free version of Zoom, but it is available now, the breakout rooms. Any other questions about the breakout rooms? And then I'll talk about the polls. So Rita has shared here. What's your opinion on using a gaming headset instead of an external mic? I'll catch up with the questions there. You know, you can use the ear pods, are very good and very discreet, and they don't show a whole lot. And you can use those headsets, particularly if the sound quality is better. If the sound quality is better, I say go ahead and use the headsets. But if it's the same, then why bother? Why use them? And I think this is a more natural showing of yourself without a gaming headset on, or that you're looking like a pilot of some sorts. And some of them can look pretty old-fashioned. I've had some young people, John, you have young people in your class. Some of the young people, if you don't have contemporary equipment, they're teasing you that you look like Mickey Mouse or something, you're, giant headphones on or something. So if it makes a difference, if the choice is better quality sound, use them. And of course, if you have others in the room around you, I do a lot of training in India, and sometimes households have multiple people at the same time, and they really need to have a headset so not everyone else can hear the information that I'm sharing, and everyone else around the room is taking other classes and other sessions. So that's important, so that, whatever you're using it for, that there's a good reason. Please tell us a bit about what services you offer after the 15-minute. Certainly. So I'm a coach and consultant, but in that 15-minute consultation, I'm going to look at your background. We're going to try out different things, test out your sound, whatever it is that you're unsure of as you're delivering your workshops, or you're setting up your meetings, or whatever it is. I'm going to help you to feel more confident and comfortable in that environment, because that's my mission in life, is to really help people feel more comfortable on the stage and in the boardroom and in the dining room. I've had many experiences in life where I felt very uncomfortable, very ashamed, and had the sweat pouring off the back of my neck for faux pas. And so my mission is to help other people feel comfortable so that they can do what they want to do, is step into their full potential and serve those around them to the best of their ability. So a couple more questions. Oh, I learned something new today. Good. As if you walked away with one golden nugget that will make a difference, then I'm really pleased about that. Now I want to do a quick chat with you about polls. Polls need to be set up ahead of time too, not the actual poll, but the ability to have the poll again in advanced settings. But then the poll, same thing, is at the bottom of your menu bar when you are when you were a host, and it'll say polling, and you can create a poll. Now, I always create my polls ahead of time so that I have them in there. Sometimes you have a Zoom master or you have someone that's your technology person, and so you can ask them mid-session. All of a sudden you think, oh gosh, I would like to poll, and the chat function is not a good polling because maybe people don't want to be identified by feeling that way or whatever. So you would have your Zoom master go ahead and set up that poll, or you yourself, if you know in your session, in this exercise, we want to have a poll. Now, the limitations with polls, that it's a multiple choice or a yes, no. So you can't put a blank line in there and have them type in, I want to come on Monday. I want to come on Tuesday. You have to put Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they get to select each of those. So it's not a service where you can write in where those that you're polling are free to add information. It's a choice. And that's the limitation with polling. You can have it either anonymous or that you're aware of how people voted. And you can do more than one poll. You can present different questions along the way and have them all set up, and then start with one and then do the, and then maybe half an hour later in your session, okay, here's question number 2, and that goes out to all audience members. If you have made other people hosts, they won't get the poll. So poll is only for participants. It's not for hosts. Any questions about polling or breakouts? No. What other questions do you have, or is there some information that you would like to share with the group that you've learned about a virtual meeting over the last couple months? Now, some people like to operate with 2 cameras. They have one that they're seeing the presentation and one that they're head on. So you want to make sure that where you're addressing the audience or the participants is the one head on. So you don't want to be reading your speech over here while your audience is over here. Make sure that you're always addressing your audience. If you feel that you need to deliver a speech from a script as opposed to that you know and understand your key points and you're going to just share it because you know your content, or that it's a very specific political touchy item and it has to be worded a specific way, you could use a teleprompter. There's teleprompters available. They're downloadable apps, of course, and they're not the cheapest. They're about $40 to $60. There's not a lot available. There's about 3 or 4. They work well. Many people that are doing vlogging use those teleprompters when they're creating content for YouTube. So they've been tested out quite a bit, and you set the speed and your content will go by. The camera is still capturing what you're saying and what you're doing. And of course, every session in Zoom can be recorded and it downloads, so the teleprompter will go and you can make the size of the font whatever you want. You can make the background black and the print a different color or vice versa. So it has that option. You can pause it at any particular point. But the other way is simply, if you are the presenter, you just make the presentation screen or the Zoom panel, you just diminish it by hitting the yellow button in the left-hand corner, and you have your Word document or whatever document is underneath. The challenge is having it come across as authentic to your audience. You have to, if you feel that you have to deliver it word for word, or you have to deliver it written because it is so much juicier or better or more compelling, or it's such complex information that you have to deliver it that way, then you need to become good at reading and staying connected with the dot. Now, if they're on premise delivering of content and you need to read it, we often say, you know, look down, capture the, because it's on a lectern, look down, capture what you're going to say, look up to begin the line, look down for the middle, and deliver the end of the line up. Many people, when they're reading a script or reading a speech, will do the opposite. They'll go down for the beginning, up for the middle, and down for the ending. The more effective way that your audience feels that you're really more connected is the beginning and the ending to be in the up, connected to the audience. And same in the virtual environment. If you have a Word doc up and you're just reading, make sure that that you look and see, oh yeah, that's the beginning of the line. Deliver that to the green dot, go capture the rest, and you will have less pushback from the audience that you are reading it and they can see your eyes scanning back and forth. Some little tidbits there. So what last questions do you have of me before I thank you all? No last questions? All righty. Well, I'd just like to say thank you so much for being here. And remember, when you were on virtual, it's like a mini TV production, and that you need to be aware of lights, camera, action. And we in North America know when we hear that phrase, it's showtime and you're on. And if you want to be more professional, have greater impact, and connect with your audience, you will use the skills of lights, camera, action to enhance your message. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thanks very much, Margaret.
You're welcome. I'll stay on the line in case anyone still has questions and they just chose not to ask in front of the bigger group.
Thank you, Margaret.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here